Welcome to Make America Healthy Again. Join Dr. Charles Antinori and friends as they share solutions, tips, and insights that only doctors know for creating better health. Here's Dr. Antinori.
Okay, this is Dr. Charles Antinori with Make America Healthy Again podcast, and today I'm interviewing TLoren Roberts from the Ewings Publshing Company. She's an expert in marketing, and she's going to talk to us about marketing methods and what it's all about. I discovered that this becomes a very hard part of the book writing process. I thought writing the book was going to be the difficult part, and I found out that really marketing is just as difficult, if not more difficult, than actually writing the book. So with that, let me introduce TLoren, and she'll just give you a little bit of background, and we'll go from there. Thanks,
Okay.
TLoren.
Hi. Good afternoon, Doctor. We're grateful at Ewings, and at the same time, an honor to be working with you as one of our, I'd say, successful authors who has been so hands-on in terms of promoting your book. So yeah, my name is TLoren Roberts. I am one of the book project managers here at the Ewings Publshing. I pretty much handle projects that focuses on marketing our authors' books, depending on the platforms that they prefer doing. And so I help out my team to create a customized plan and look into the desired market that the author would want to tap or would want to reach out with. So yeah, pretty much with your book, Doctor, I am working with Iris on this author
Right.
podcast thing and a lot of other projects that you have had. And I just heard that you have taken in the comprehensive press release campaign. So yeah, congratulations for that. That's a very new release marketing campaign that we have. And well, good to have you as one of our projects that we're going to be working with.
Let me ask you on the photo that came with the email for that. There were like 5 people there. The 3 girls and 2 guys, I think. Who are the people on the picture?
Well, they're actually not the people in our team.
Oh,
It's
really?
just yeah, we don't actually use the real images of people here, but
Okay.
those are actually sort of models. Let's just call it just to put things together.
Okay. All right. It's curious. Okay. I was just curious because try to put a face with a name. I'm just wondering if some of the people I've been talking to over the last 6 months, 7 months. Yeah. So you were talking about what's the most effective way to market for traditional publishers and that sort of thing?
Yeah. Okay. Well, just a little bit of a background. I have been in this industry. I started as a consultant as well, for about 15 years now. And,
Wow.
yeah, so I have been, I'd say 3 different publishing,
Mhm.
companies. And I, started with the one, that's based in Canada. I've helped out self-published authors, customizing their publishing consultation. It's more on the first part or the first phase of being a self-published author. It's more on the design, how their book should look like, the interior and all that, until I moved to marketing and moved into the business development side, where I was able to learn a lot. And I realized it's such a really broad topic when it comes to marketing, because it just doesn't stop with exposing your book by saying, "Hey, I got a book and I want to sell it." There's a whole lot of categories that you can get into in terms of marketing. So from there, I started to also do marketing consultation and helped out authors in terms of how to effectively sell copies of their books, or if their direction is more on the acquisition, then looking into the possible means of getting the attention of traditional publishers. So based on that, the summary of all the experiences by being in the marketing side, I realized that there's actually 3 major directions that most self-published authors would prefer taking. And that is one, if they are writing either fiction or nonfiction, and they feel there's the strong potential that their book can be acquired by a traditional publishing company, they would venture on getting their attention, without really getting the hindsight that there's so much that they'll have to do first before getting there. And so they just would take on the query letter distribution, getting a literary agent for them, um, the means to just really be one directional, that is just getting into the mainstream publishers, which later on, when they get to that destination, they'd realize that, okay, part of the parameters or factors that a traditional publishing company would look into is the performance of the book in the market. And when we say performance, it's about sales of the book, the track record, because, well, practically, a traditional publishing company wouldn't invest on a book if it's not really doing well in the market in the first place. So a lot of self-published authors who directly tap on that avenue just to get the attention of traditional publishing companies without really understanding that they need the book needed to perform first in the market, realize that, okay, it's way too late to go back, and so
This
they
is
ended up
hiring a literary
frustrated.
agent, you're saying? This is the
Yeah,
yeah,
this is
okay.
hiring a literary agent, working alongside with them, getting their query letter here and there, and a lot of those. And but again, of course, a literary agent would just actually do what they're supposed to do, although they have been advising authors that, okay, we have to really sell copies of your book and that. But if the author is willing to pay the price of really getting there, and so they sort of take advantage of that fact. So
Right.
yeah, when I do consultation in terms of marketing, I always determine their very direction that they'd like to take. So that being said, that's one, getting
Right.
into traditional publishing companies. Number two, if an author is writing fiction titles or historical fiction, biography, autobiography, that they feel like it's compelling, it's something that people should know about or learn from, and they'd like to be recognized, or at least one step closer to Hollywood adaptation. So that's the second direction. And so they'd find means and ways to really get to that direction. Looking for an agent, that's one. Having their book to be in a screenplay or treatment. So they'd look for a screenwriter, a professional screenwriter, to be complying on the requirement that most production companies are looking into. Um, yeah, and they'd have
You
their book.
just answered a question I was going to ask you, like, because they had me write a screenplay.
Uh-huh.
It was expensive, to get a write a
It
screenplay,
is.
and I was thinking, like, why am I going to write a screenplay? If the book's not even going to get picked up. But I guess so. Your point is that a screenplay can act. A lot of people, companies are going to look for a book if they think it's got a chance of being made into like a TV movie or something like that, huh?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Correct.
I see. So that
Yeah.
explains. That's good. Yeah, I
And
feel
because
better about the
producers,
screenplay now. Yeah,
it is really expensive, doctor. And
yeah,
in fact, if you've looked it up, from the Writers Guild of America
yeah.
website, because in the history, I mean, for the longest time running, WGA has supports Hollywood in terms of producing their screenplays and all that. It's where they get professional screenwriters certified, and production companies are looking into really getting a pool of writers from their organization. And that's one of the reasons why there was, I think there was 2 years back or up until now, they are not in a very good mood of supporting so much about Hollywood, because a lot has changed over time, and somehow, though, they felt that their talent in writing has been put aside, because nowadays there's so many talented writers,
Yeah.
screenplay writers, that production companies can actually make use of, or work with. And in fact, most big names in the Hollywood industry would really groom their own writing team. They have their a team of writers who would
Yeah.
work together to come up with a concept, work together if it's a TV series, work together every episode, how they'd have to build up the story and all that. So somehow WGA
Yeah.
writers
It's
has
funny.
taken,
I just got I stumbled onto this thing, Bosch, Bosch. It's a detective show,
yes,
you know,
yes,
and the guy that wrote the book is his fiction. I got Michael Connolly. This thing's got, and I got sucked. You know how you get sucked into stuff on the streaming services. You know, I got sucked into this. It's got like 9 years with one thing, and then there's like a second. It came back as a Bosch Legacy, a second, but
right.
the thing same way.
The
And actually,
season
they're
two.
trying to do a spin-off. Ballard, a
Uh-huh.
girl now, is that that they're trying to spin off this, but that's like
Yeah,
3 more years with Bosch Legacy, and it's
yeah,
all and it says based on the books by Michael Connerly,
right.
and they tell you to read the little things come up on the screen and say read the original book, blah blah. But
Mhm.
there's a couple. Starting to recognize a couple of screenwriters' names who bring it to the screen. And like I say, this is like 9 45-minute episodes, for
Uh-huh.
7 years. You know what I mean? And then
Right. And
like
they, they,
and then
they,
like 3 more years with the second one. So it's like a
uh-huh.
10-year job. It must be.
It
But yeah,
is, it is. In fact, there's a lot of good reviews about it. The network that's supporting the series has been, I've been seeing reviews about it, and the guy is good. They said sort of they compare that from the previous because I believe this is sort of a reboot from before, but yeah, it was taken from a book.
yeah,
So going back to what I said, that in the Hollywood direction, we call it the Hollywood Avenue
yeah.
in our marketing terminology. Um, and there's so much at stake, and this is a very direction that requires a lot of money, and it's a bit expensive for self-published authors to really, fund that probability just to take their book one step closer to their dream of at least getting noticed or
Right.
having their book being optioned. Although what makes it a little bit different with that traditional acquisition direction is that this does not really look into book sales performance because there are entertainment companies, production companies who would be willing to fund for a project or a movie project if they feel like, okay, this is something that we can, give to the audience and come up with, a little bit of twist in that. But
I see what you're saying. If they like the story and they think they can make a good TV show out of it, they're not as worried about whether or not it's sold that much as opposed to the first group that
right.
we talked about. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes. So that's just one thing. But like what I've said, they're not going to read the whole book. They would typically ask for, okay, has this been treated? Is there a treatment for this material? Do you have the blueprint for this? Or at least the treatment is the very requisite or the requirement, because from there, they know how to put it all up in in a visual way, and so they have their own screenwriter to just write the screenplay if let's say the book does not have a screenplay material at all. That's why for authors that we are working with at the Ewings, if ever though they'd feel like, okay, I want to take that direction, we normally would say start with treatment and then eventually go with screenplay, or you can just go with together because you can't have screenplay without the treatment. The
What's the
treatment is
treatment?
always
We went right to screenplay. I don't remember treatment.
okay. Well, treatment is more on how emotions are going to be extracted from the whole story. Like if it's a memoir, let's say for example, I don't know if you've watched the movie Still Alice, what's that's taken from a
No,
book, which
no.
was actually a memoir. So she wrote snippets of her memory because she was diagnosed by Alzheimer's at the
Uh,
age of 40. So she was breaking the record. And in fact, she was put in the Guinness Book of Records as the youngest to ever have that condition at the
yeah.
age of 40. So what she did, because she's a Harvard professor, she wrote down every now and then things that happened to her on that day because in a certain particular time of the day, there is a possibility that she will forget everything. She
Uh,
forget that she is married, she got kids, where she worked, where her house is. So yeah, and when she wrote that memoir and published that in a self-publishing way, it was picked up both by traditional and at the same time by Hollywood. So it's a double offer, and it earned Lisa Genova, one of the self-published authors that really make it phenomenal. Why? Because her book was translated in 37 languages right
wow.
after
Yeah. Yeah.
right after the movie bagged a lot of awards
Yeah.
in Emmys. So
Yeah.
that was really something that I'd say, okay, a very good success story for self-published authors. But then again, not everyone will actually have the same fate.
Right.
It would just really be dependent on the efforts and the
J.D. Vance is another guy who I think the movie probably did more than spurred more interest in the book. Hillbilly
yeah.
Elegy. I didn't even really like the book that much, to tell you the truth. And the movie, I think, was successful largely because it focused on the for two things. One, because he was already a successful senator running for president,
Okay.
or running for vice president, excuse me, and and the fact that it was kind of about, the drug addicted mother and all that sort of thing, because that's a popular topic, But
Uh-huh.
I think that's another one where I think the movie sold the book.
Yeah, typically, it's the marketing can be just connected.
Yeah.
The moment it starts to really pick up and get recognized that okay, this was taken from a movie. It's just like the 50 Shades of Grey. Nobody
Yeah.
knows. I mean, the book sold a lot more after it became a movie. So
Right.
that's kind of funny. I mean, the effect was something that's not, that everyone is expecting or was expecting. So yeah, it has to become a movie before the people would know that, oh, it was a book.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
they start picking up a copy and reading it. And yeah, I did the same thing. I was really inclined to watch the movie and read the book, but I got a copy. I watched the movie, but then I come across into some, reviews and feedbacks that the book is not really well written and all that. So, okay, I watched the movie. I will just, read the book later, something
Right.
like
Right.
that.
Right. A lot of times you don't bother with the book. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A
So
lot of times when you read a book that you really like, though, too, the movie comes out and the movie's not as good because the movie can't develop the characters.
uh-huh,
A
uh-huh.
lot a complicated book. The movie can't develop.
That's
Yeah.
that's exactly where the treatment would come in because
Mm.
it's more on if we talk about a certain book and the genre is yeah like what I've said is let's say autobiography like American Sniper it was not even a completed book because he died before he even gets to complete it.
Yeah.
Um, the moment it gets it transitions into a material which is for Hollywood. The writer who is so creative. That's why, they got that highest level of certification in terms of writer because they have to imagine how would they be able to put up the action in such a way that it evokes this kind of emotion. So if it's American Sniper, if it has to be tragedy, yeah, everything that goes with it would lead to that tragic moment, which was his death. If it's going to be comedy, then they have to actually sort of make the story a little bit lighter and, turn every frame to be something funny or humorous or something. So that's what treatment is. And it's all just put in paper. And so when the director or the producer would read it, they will start to imagine and visualize, oh, okay, I know what to do with this story, something like
I
that.
see. I see. So
Yeah.
what's the third
The
pathway?
third direction is more on book selling. I mean, there are self-published authors who will just really focus on selling, selling, selling. They are not inclined to, I mean, not really that they don't care, but it's more on they will not prioritize on being acquired or having their book adapted into Hollywood movies or TV production. So if they're writing on, let's say, nonfiction, well, typically out of the three directions, the Hollywood adaptation is sort of eliminated in that option, and so they will just focus on book sales. They just really would want to gather as many readers as they can, hear from their feedbacks because I'm pretty sure that means a lot, right? Like in
Yeah.
your instance, doctor, how does it feel when you start getting feedback from the people that has read your book?
Well, yeah, that is. It's very gratifying, especially, I mean, you got to take it
Right.
with a grain of salt because,
Uh-huh.
most people are not going to tell you they hated it. You know what I mean?
I know, I know.
Either they're going to say nothing or they're going to say they liked it, but I think but I've gotten a lot of, genuine feedback. I think it seems genuine to me anyway that
Mhm,
people liked it. The big thing with my book, people, tell me it was easy to read, which,
mhm,
worked on because it is sort of a medical book. I mean, in the sense, that it talks about, healthcare and health.
mhm.
But
Right.
I tried to make sure it wasn't too deep. We didn't get into too many journal articles and controlled, randomized, controlled, blinded studies. I didn't really
Mhm.
push. I mean, I quote a few, but it's really,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't get into that so much. A couple of the books I
Uh-huh.
really like do that. Like I tell everybody to read. And I use them in the book. This guy, Dr. Geiger. Uh,
Mhm.
Michael Geiger had wrote this book, uh, how not to die is the first one, and then he wrote how not to diet and how not to age, and but his
Okay.
and I'm always afraid when I recommend them. They're really good, and like as a guy like me that's read a lot of medical studies in his life, but he quotes an awful lot of medical studies. And he quotes them in an easy way. If it was easy for me to understand, you know what I mean? But I
Mhm,
wonder,
mhm,
like, if I recommend these books to a layperson, are they really going to like it? You know what I mean?
mhm.
Because he talks about this study and that study, about gain how to how losing what studies show on dieting, what all of it. Like one of the things
Ah,
he says in How Not to Diet is like all diets you lose weight in the beginning, and then all diets sort of stop losing weight at some point. Like,
right.
yeah.
So isn't he the guy that also wrote about the treatment of common eye conditions?
I don't think so. I could be. He's not. I don't think he's an ophthalmologist. I thought he's like a family practitioner. I don't think my God. Did I say Geiger? I think it's Gregor. Gregor, something like that. Michael Gregor. Yeah, I'm
Ah,
pretty
okay.
sure. Yeah.
I thought it's Geiger,
No, I might
Michael
have said
Geiger.
Geiger. I think I got it wrong.
It's
It's Gregor. No, yeah,
Gregor. Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Greg. Okay, no, it's Gregor, not Gregory. Okay.
Yeah, and I guess so. It's interesting what you said though. So I guess I sort of fall more into that third category. You got to try, try to get the book sellings to get somebody interested in it.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And see when it comes to book selling, doctor, that's where there's so many things that a self-published author can do.
yeah,
Um, because normally when we do marketing consultation here, we basically would want our authors or would like to help our authors establish a readership, a certain readership that they can start with, so that as they progress along with the series of marketing approaches or strategies that they'd like to proceed with, at least it wouldn't be that difficult to start all over again because you already have people who has come to know about your book. Like you have your own official website. People can look you up. You are
right.
searchable. Um, you have already online presence or digital presence. That's one thing. It's a huge, I'd say, impact for a self-published author to begin with, if it's book selling, because if you really have a very good presence on the internet, it's where a lot of audience are really coming in to identify, take notice of who's who, what's the hottest book to read. You've heard of a book, Bob. Are you a subscriber of that?
No, what's that? Yeah. Book.
Well, it's a marketing platform that basically feeds information. It's just like the email blasting campaign that we did with you. So
Uh,
that's a platform that allows any interested book buyers, or we call them book enthusiasts, who would like to get updates about certain books in specific genres. So, like, I did sort of. I have to actually do it so that I would know what would be the effect. So I became a customer so that I know how to actually use it when we would do the marketing side here at the Ewing. So I became a subscriber. And then I regularly receive an email about certain books, about, let's say, I want to know about books that are released this month that focuses on health. And so they'd feed you that kind of information.
oh, I
So from
see.
there,
It's
yeah,
called Book Fob, FOB.
yeah, BUB. It's not the Bob name. It's book and then Bob, BUB. So
Okay, book. Yeah,
it's a marketing platform. Well, they have their own subscribers, they have their own audience, and pretty much it's what we do with the email advertising. Same with what they did. So I just really subscribe to that platform because I want to feel how it is if I am a customer, so that I know how to sort of echo and how should I say that? Understand the results when we would complete any series of marketing actions with
I
our
see.
authors. So yeah, book selling can literally it has a bigger scope because you can literally sell house to house, like inviting the whole community or locality or your neighborhood that, hey, you got a
Yeah,
book. Yeah, you can get a copy, have a glass of lemonade, let's read
yeah,
together, some
yeah,
things like that. Or you can just tap on the internet to get a huge audience in there. But again, it is not a guarantee, an exact translation of book sales immediately, because it has to take a little bit of time before it will give you that kind of effect. And most often when we would do book selling strategies for our authors, would look into what avenues they've taken. Like, have you done with the online thing? Have you done with the sort of the classic approach or the traditional approach? And I'm talking about print advertising with magazines, library placements, which, yeah,
yeah.
yours is currently being worked on.
Right, right.
Um, yeah, because these are all related, and
Yeah,
tapping as many industry professionals as possible in book selling is something. And then later on, when the effect comes in, like there's really good track records of book sales, that is when we will advise our author to proceed with either the second direction, I mean the traditional acquisition direction, or the Hollywood adaptation. So it should start with the performance of a book in the market before anything else.
right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're getting it. It's about 25 minutes in, so I guess it's really, really interesting. We could have gone on for a
I
lot
guess I
longer.
talk a lot. I know I
No, no,
get to
it's not
talk
that.
a
It's
lot.
very interesting. It really is. Yeah, Lauren. Yeah, and I feel a
Well,
lot better about. I understand. It's just like some of the. I remember like the science, like one of the in medical school, or actually in college, one of the classic things that you have to the classic pre-med classes was genetics, and you had this fruit fly experiment. Almost
fruit
everybody.
fly.
Yeah, yeah, you had to like separate fruit flies and breed them together, and you had virgin fruit flies and stuff like that. And then I can't remember how it worked, but basically it always was a giant mess. Like you had a lab, and by the end of the semester, there was like fruit flies all over this lab. It was supposed to be keeping your fly, but it's one of those things like when I was all done with the experiment, I understood the experiment. You know what I mean? But
That's
and
when you understood the
I
experiment.
probably could have done it much faster and much better if I could have done it like a second time. It's the same thing about this book, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh,
About
uh-huh.
marketing the book. I'm starting to understand what we're doing, but,
Uh,
I feel like I've been through the process, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And
but
yeah,
I guess what I can say about the things that you are doing right now with your book, Doctor, is that sooner or later you will see its results. Okay,
Yeah,
with so many things that has been done for your book, I
yeah,
don't think it will just actually, you know, be put into, throughout. I mean, I don't think it will not give you any results. There will be.
right.
It's just a matter of time, you being hands-on, and I think your visibility somehow have made an impact already.
Mm.
People starts to look up at you, and you got the links for your author commercial shoot,
Right, right.
the things that you did for your book. I mean, this will have an effect.
Well, it was great discussing this with you, Lauren.
I am so honored to be part of your podcast program.
This is Dr. Charles Antinori, just finishing up the discussion with Lauren Roberts about marketing a book. We'll be back next week. We'll have a discussion of how private equity took over a hospital chain and closed a hospital, eliminating the residency program.